Welcome back, guys. Thanks for clicking on the video. And in this video, we're going to be getting into the clinical analysis of the narcissist in therapy. I would love to hear in your comments what you thought. Is this stuff that you sort of recognized on your own as you were watching the first video and this confirms it? Or did you have other thoughts on it? I would love to hear about that. So I'm going to run them both sessions with the commentary, the text about what is actually going on in real time in the session, about the pathology of the narcissist, what might be going on for the therapist, and hopefully it is of use to you guys. Well, hey, welcome. You know, it's good to meet you, and we spoke on the phone, and you mentioned you wanted to do some work around some infidelity issues that you have in your life, and I understand that your wife recently caught you cheating and recommended that you come see somebody, and I understand things aren't really going that well. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about it? You know, the thing got really complicated really fast, Patrick. It just got out of hand, and I want you to know up front, though, I wasn't just looking for sex. I mean, sex was a part of it, but I was really just trying to help this woman out. Like, she had a bad boss, she had a bad marriage, she had the kids, it was a mess, and I don't know, I just sort of fell into it, you know? And, you know, I see a ring on your finger, and I'm sure you understand that in a marriages get lonely, you know? Marriages can get barren. And I'm sure you can understand that. But no, things aren't really good right now between she and I. But you know what I was thinking, like on the way over here, I was thinking of just struggling with this, is maybe you can help me out with this, is I'm starting to feel like I gotta ask you, is that, am I a bad person in this, Patrick? Because I feel like this thing just sort of took off. It just sort of happened to me. And I feel like I'm a bad person. Well, that's a big question, you know, and it's well, the way I tend to look at that or a question like that is I try to go back and take a look at people's childhood, and one thing I'm curious, and maybe we can just jump in about if there was any infidelity between your parents growing up. And I feel like a good trauma therapist will ask about that modeling, about what went on at home. And what a good trauma therapist would also ask you, what age did you start to cope with your feelings by using things like sex or food or here's the whole thing. You know, I'm an open book. I will tell you the whole thing. And my dad worked hard. He played hard. And I felt really bad for my mom in that. But, you know, she's a very negative, complicated person. And honestly, I would see them fight all the time. Every other day, the house was blown up in some kind of fight. And honestly, Patrick, I would side with him because he had stronger points in the arguments, and she just tended to be really negative. But out of that, though, is I feel like growing up between the two of them, I feel like I have a gift about sort of seeing both sides of things, looking at one person in their shoes, looking at the other person in their shoes. I'm sure you can relate to that because as a therapist, I'd probably be a good therapist myself because I really find that I can see many angles of what's going on with people. Well, that was helpful, and there's a lot there. And it sounds like that dad maybe didn't respect your mother, and maybe your mother had some codependency going on. You know, I'm curious about, for kids who grow up in that kind of constant distrust and argumentative environment, it's kind of related to maybe the problem you came in with, is that children growing up in that, they don't really see parents value each other, they don't see parents respect each other, they don't see parents honoring each other or enjoying each other. And it's, from what you're describing, it's simply the current problem might be something that was modeled for you, But what was going on at home is I would file that under emotional abuse.
It is what it is. And I think they were just unhappy, and that's just how it kind of played out.
Well, sure. But I'm just curious about, as I'm describing it as emotional abuse, one thing that I'm curious about is when I describe it at that, for kids who grow up in daily fighting, it is fall under that category of emotional abuse. But
to be honest, it's a little bit creepy. I don't really like thinking about it in that way, and I learned a lot from them. They were good people. They were just complicated in their relationship. It's a bit creepy, yeah, to think about it, and to kind of go back.
Well, we're at time, and you can think about how you felt in this session. And if you wanted to book another session, I would really think about that, because you mentioned the word creepy, about how you felt about us processing some of this stuff or talking about it. Is these sessions are hard in that way, but I find like they are related to the present problem, and we try to shift by figuring out where the problem started. What I have people do is I have them pick up a book called Homecoming by John Bradshaw and read the first 4 chapters, which are very helpful and related to some of this stuff and the impact of what growing up in that environment was like. And it can help with a lot of stuff.
All right, sounds good. I can handle it.
Okay. Well, hey, good to see you. Why don't you tell me how the week was, and I'm curious about how you felt when you left the session last time.
I felt amazing, and I felt really hopeful, and I feel grateful for you because you really healed that stuff about my parents last time.
Well, I'm not that good, but maybe you felt good about naming something big that we can start to dig in and process, but stuff doesn't really get healed in one session in that way. Did you get a chance to get that Bradshaw book?
Got it online, only took a couple days. And you know what? Gave it to my wife.
I'm sorry, how do you mean?
It's this whole thing, but I know I shouldn't have, and I know what you're going to say, but the day after I saw you, I was going through her phone, and it turns out that she's been talking to her mother and her friends about wondering if she should leave me or not. Can you effing believe that? So it's like 11 o'clock, and I wake her up, and I throw the book on the bed, and I tell her she probably has a worse childhood than I did, and she's more messed up than I am.
Whoa, I'm a little bit confused, She's probably appropriately seeking help from her friends to sort of deal with, given that there was cheating a couple weeks ago.
No, not when she's sharing our business with the whole world. She's a very complicated, negative person. And I have to see these people.
Well, but who should she be talking to?
A therapist. Trust me, though, you don't want her, though, because, how many hours do you have to just have her complain about me in here,
Well, let's just back up a little bit, Mark, and, you wanted some help about the cheating, and now, if I have you right, you're in a very different place with her, am
Totally.
I right?
It's not just me in this.
Well, I'm curious about, you gave her the book, but what about you reading the book to go over maybe what we discussed last time about your parents?
Patrick, I'm a little bit taken aback because I'm not really feeling very supported in this with you. I have to see these people, and they only hear her side of the argument in this.
Yeah, it's messy when a partner cheats, right? I wonder what would make this maybe more productive between the two of us is to ask a weird question. I'm just going to jump in there. Is how would maybe your father handle your situation right now if he was in it? I ask that because I'm just going to be blunt, is that I think you're minimizing your infidelity and switching the focus on her. You know what, Patrick? I think what will be more productive in this conversation is to talk about maybe where you went to school. You know, I think going to a social worker and whatever that is was clearly a mistake, and I should have gone to a PhD. Well, Mark, now you're switching the focus and trying to put me down a notch. You can see whoever you like. Look, I'm sorry. You know, I was just hoping I could find someone who could really get me. And before I go, I should have said this up front, but before I go today, I need a letter stating that I'm engaged in therapy with you. You could say I'm depressed or something. I'm sorry, a letter for what? That's not really that important. You can just say, you could address it to whom it may concern. Well, Mark, this is only our second session, and I would really need to know what the letter is for. Look, that's my business, and it's easy. You know, I can go grab a cup of coffee. With the time left we have in this session, you can write up the letter, I'll grab it, and I'll go. I know you're busy, so you don't have to do it outside the session. You know, Mark, being engaged in therapy is at least a month or 2 months for me, and I don't feel comfortable giving you a letter if I don't really know what it's for. Hey, Patrick, that's fine. You know what? Then I'm just not going to pay for the session then, okay? You know, Mark, I think I'm terminating you. This is really not a good fit. I can send you somewhere else. Sounds good to me.